And we're continuing with the 12th chapter of the Darkangel by Meredith Ann Pierce, which is called Icarus Bride. Ariel set all the gargoyles free. She's made the garment for the bride. She's waiting for the bride to come. Hooray, an ally, a normal woman is going to be there with her. But no! The vampire was not able to find a bride he thought was pretty enough, so he is just going to marry Ariel, which is not part of the plan. She is not happy, so down she goes to visit the Duro. The Duro was in the treasure room at his apparatus, as she had expected him to be. He held a strangely shaped metal bowl in his hand. Under a glass tube that dripped slowly, dripped a clear, glowing liquid into the bowl. He glanced over his shoulder when Ariel came in, but he did not turn around. "Has the Icarus returned?" Ariel did not answer him at first, stood silent for a time, then she said faintly, "Yes." The little man murmured his acknowledgment and adjusted some coupling of his apparatus with one hand. "And you have spoken with his bride?" Still he did not turn. Ariel drew breath. "I did not have to," she told him, "for it is I." The Duro started and nearly spilled the liquid he was catching. The cup was brimful. He reached and turned the key in the side of the glass tubing. The liquid ceased to drip. He put the bowl down beside him on the stack of books. A single drop slipped over the edge. She saw the little gobbet of bright liquid disappear in a puff of vapor the instant it left the rim of the bowl, and Ariel realized then that it was not a bull at all, but the hoof of the equestrel. "Now will you tell me," she asked him, "how we shall kill the vampire?" The Duro stood facing her, his back pressed to the distillery. His small stone-colored eyes had widened. "Daughter," he murmured, "what did you say?" "Tell me," began Ariel flatly, "how we—" But the little man, sputtering, cut her off. Before that—" Ariel looked away. "It is I," she repeated softly. "The vampire has chosen me for his bride. There is no other." The Duro let out his breath and then seemed to sag. "Ye gods!" he breathed. "Oh, ancient ones, what shall be done?" But in a moment he regained himself. His eyes flicked back to hers. "Ariel," he said, "I am afraid for you. If you should fail—" "I shall die," she heard herself saying. Her voice sounded oddly dispassionate. "Forever, as will my friend Eowyn, and all the others of the race. The 7 Icari will be made invincible, and they will rule the world." She felt her scattered thoughts beginning to return now. After the shock of learning she was Icarus's bride, she was more clearly aware of the chamber around her, could feel her own body more distinctly. She remembered a desert proverb suddenly, one she had learned from Oroato II. "Go coward into battle, and you will fail. Go brave, and you may not. If not heart brave, at least face brave." Ariel put on the bravest face she could then, and turned back toward the Duro. "But I do not intend to fail." Her voice held more assurance than she felt. "Now tell me what to do." The little man stood looking at her a moment, chewing one knuckle, his eyes deep with concern. Then he took hold of himself as well, murmured, "Ah, well, if we must, we must." He crossed the room to where the fire burned. "So little time," he fidgeted. "So little time." Then he fell on his knees by the flickering wreath of white flame. All the floor was pale limestone, but the pits had been filled with smooth white sand. The fire had been built over one of these. Ariel saw, as the Duro began to dig in the soft grit, the brushwood dislodged from its stack, fell over and smoothed out as the little man dug determinedly with his hands, tossing the pale grains, careless of where they fell. Ariel drew breath as the flames died and darkness leapt to fill the room. "Why have you done that?" she whispered at him. The sudden dark uneased her. But then she saw that the room was not quite all dark. Tiny flames beneath the glass vessels still burned, too faint to relieve the gloom. But there was another light in the chamber. On the floor, at the very center where the Duro dug, the sand glowed, or rather she saw it was not the sand, but something beneath the sand, shining up through the translucent grains. "Patience, daughter," the Duro said. "We'll not need that little fire in just a moment." He brushed the last of the sand away from the object in the small pit he had made. Its light shone forth and filled the room. It was a dagger, with a blade like a snaking ray of the sun. The Duro lifted it reverently, and Ariel saw the fine chain falling from its haft. "What is it?" she murmured, staring. The darkness and the Duro's solemnity caused her to hush her voice. "The edge adamantine," he answered proudly. "It fell into my keeping, a long time past." He held the dagger out to her. Ariel drew back, surprised. "Take it with you," he explained. "When you go into the vampire's chambers, I cannot follow until the sun is down. Keep it concealed if things go aright, but if things fall awry, draw it out. Its light will blind him, and its heat scathe him until you may escape." Ariel looked at the blade that burned like starfire, reached to take it from him, and put the chain about her neck beneath her garment. The blade fell against her breastbone, lay close against her between her breasts. She fingered its haft. The Duro rose and moved off a moment, then returned and put the hoof of the star horse into her hands. Its contents shone. "Only the chalice hoof of the immortal horse can hold this liquor," he informed her. "What is it?" Ariel inquired. He shook his head. "Fear not to drink it yourself, daughter. Its properties are marvelous, and its bane only to the vampire and his kind." Ariel arose. "I must go," she told the Duro, "and prepare." The 2 means the little mage had put into her hands had steadied her. She cradled the chalice hoof in cupped palms, careful not to spill any. The Duro laid his hand on hers a moment. "Yes, child," he answered. "Go. There is not time to lose." And there we will pause.